وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله داعي إلى رضوانه وعلى آله وأصحابه وإخوانه أما بعد. إخواني في الله, we are continuing our history lesson regarding a very difficult period for the Muslims, a period where the very existence of Islam and the Muslims was threatened. And this is the history of the Tatar, the Mongolians versus the Muslims. In the previous lectures, we mentioned that from the signs of the Day of Judgment that are mentioned by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "لا تقوم الساعة حتى تقاتل ترك." The hour, the Day of Judgment will not come until you fight the people of Turkish origin. Then he describes them, he says, صغار الأعين, they have small eyes. ظلف الأنف, they have small noses that are very wide. He says, حمر الوجوه, their faces are red complexion. كأن وجوههم المجان المطرقة, it is as if their faces are beaten up shields. The Prophet ﷺ says that these people, they wear clothes made out of hair of fur, and they wear shoes made out of hair of fur, and these are the people who almost destroyed Islam and the Muslims. In the previous lecture we mentioned that this history of the Mongolians began with their founder. Who is the founder of the Mongolians we mentioned in the previous lecture? Easy question. Who's the founder of the Mongolians? Genghis Khan. So Genghis Khan became the great Khan or the leader of the Mongolians and the Tatar and the Uyghurs in the year 603 of the Hijri calendar. Thereafter, he attacked the lands of the Muslims, the land of Bukhara in the year 616 of the Hijri calendar. Massacred over 1 million Muslims in that year. In the year 617, which is the worst year of genocide of the Muslims, the year 617 of the Hijri calendar, he massacred many Muslims in the lands of Samarkand, Khawarizm, Khorasan, and so on and so forth. This man was the leader of the Mongolians from up to the year 624 of the Hijri calendar. Then he died. His son took over, Oqatai, the son of Genghis Khan. He became the leader of the Mongolians. And he mentioned that Oqatai ruled from about 624 or thereafter, after the Kurultai, after they had a meeting, until the year 639 of the Hijri calendar. In this period, he built the capital city of the Mongolians, it's called Karakorum, and he managed to conquer most of the Islamic world that was remaining, the lands of Iran and Azerbaijan. Most of the eastern part of the Islamic world was captured by this man. And he captured until Europe, they reached as far as Poland and Ukraine. And he mentioned that this was the greatest kingdom ever seen by the human beings in reported history. But that is the history that we know, that is written. But us as Muslims, we have a belief that there are 3 leaders who managed to rule over the entire world. Who are these 3 leaders that managed to rule over the entire world? One of them is a prophet. Who are the 3 leaders? Sulaiman alayhi salam. The second one mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah. And the third one mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf. Who are these leaders? Dhul-Qarnayn is mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf chapter. Surah Al-Kahf is chapter 8 of the Quran. We read every Friday on the phone. It's chapter 18 of the Quran. And the third man mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Nimrud. These are the 3 leaders who conquered most of the world. But the history that we have that's recorded right now that we can read and compiled, the greatest kingdom we've seen up to today is not the British Empire, it is this empire of the Mongolians. So he died Oqatai. Then his son took over Kyuk. He led the Mongolians until he died in the year 646 of the Hijri calendar. Then his widow took over. Then his cousin, Mongol Khan, took over from the year 649 of the Hijri calendar. And we mentioned in the previous lecture that these Mongolians, they massacred Muslims anywhere they could find them. They reached the city of Baghdad. They took over the city of Baghdad, the capital city of the Muslims, and they massacred 2 million Muslims. This is a city that is the capital city of the Muslims, the greatest city on earth. They captured it. They captured the entire of Iraq. They entered the next land is the land of Asham, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, and Jordan. In Syria, they captured the city of Halab, Aleppo, massacred the Muslims of Aleppo. Thereafter, they went to the city of Hims, Hama, then Dimashq. For the first time in history, the city of Dimashq was captured also by the non-Muslims. So we as Muslims, in this space of time, we have lost our capital cities. Any place that is known as the capital city of Muslims was actually captured, except for the city of Medina. We had lost the city of Baghdad. We had lost, which is the capital city of the Abbasids, the Dawla Abbasiyya. We lost the city of Damascus, which is the capital city of the Dawla Al-Umayyah. We lost Kufa, which is the capital city at the time of Ali ibn Abi Talib. So all these cities were captured, and they have reached Gaza. They have captured up to Gaza. Thereafter, we mentioned that these people have captured the entire of what is called the Middle East in current political terms. Middle East is eastern of London, the middle of the farthest east is the middle of London. So they've captured all this land. So the next land of the Muslims they want to capture is the land of, what comes after Gaza? What comes after Gaza? If you look at the map, you've captured all the east. You've come from China, Korea, all those lands. You've captured Iran, Azerbaijan. You've entered Iraq. You've captured part of Turkey. You've captured Syria. What comes after Palestine, Sinai? What? No, after you pass Gaza, what country? You come Egypt. So you come now to a different place. So Egypt, is one of the main civilizations that is remaining for the Muslims. The strength of the Muslims is in Egypt. And you mentioned that Egypt, during the time these Mongolians appeared, were ruled by two dynasties. The first dynasty is one of the greatest heroes of Islamic history, who managed to reconquer Al-Quds, Jerusalem, from the Crusaders. Who is this great leader of the Muslims that reconquered, not you, I want someone else today, who managed to conquer Jerusalem or Al-Quds from the Crusaders? Who is this leader? Saifuddin al-Ayyubi. So he is the leader of the Muslims from the year 569 of the Hijri calendar to the year 589 of the Hijri calendar. He managed to capture Jerusalem in the year 583 of the Hijri calendar after the Battle of Hittin. So the Ayyubids, they led the Muslims from the year 569 to the year 648 of the Hijri calendar. The last leader was Najmuddin al-Ayyubi and his son Turan Shah. They were killed and a new dynasty came up. What is the name of the second dynasty that came up? Who can remember? After the Ayyubids? The Mamluks. The Mamluks, are people who were slaves that were bought by Najmuddin al-Ayyubi. They were trained, they were taught the Quran, they were taught the fiqh, they were taught military studies, they were taught administration, they were taught to be leaders, and thereafter they became the leaders of the Muslim world. Question: is it allowed for a slave to be a ruler? Yes. Who says yes? Who says no? You cannot be a leader of the Muslims, number one, unless you're Muslim. Hence, non-Muslims cannot be leaders of the Muslims. Number two, you have to be aqil, you have to have mental capacity. If you're mentally incapacitated, you cannot be a leader of the Muslims. Number three, you have to be male. If you're female, you cannot be a leader of the Muslims. And number four, you have to be free. You cannot be a slave. So this created a situation that we're going to mention right now. So we mentioned that the Ayyubids, they collapsed in the year 648 of the Hijri calendar. And this new dynasty of the Mamluk, they took over. The first leader was actually a woman, Shajaruddin. The people erupted in revolutions and protests, and she married Izzuddin Aybak, and she made her husband the leader of the new kingdom of Egypt. So Izzuddin Aybak became the leader from the year 648 to the year 655, when he was killed by this wife of his because he took a second wife. So be careful. Taking a second wife is very dangerous sometimes for your life. So she killed the husband, 655. Then she was killed. Then the new leader of the Muslims is the son. It's called Ali ibn Izzuddin. He's only 15 years of age. He becomes the leader of the Muslims. And the general, Saifuddin Qutuz, becomes like the overall administrator or the chancellor or the prime minister of the land of Egypt. Meanwhile, the Mongolians are marauding with their barbarism in the lands. They're massacring Muslims everywhere. And Egypt have decided after to choose a child to be the ruler of the Muslims. So this is a problem. So on the 24th of Dhul-Qa'dah, the year 657 of the Hijri calendar, as the Mongolians are coming to the city of Aleppo, the city of Halab, just before they start besieging the city of Halab, the Egyptians, they have a meeting. The scholars, the ulama, the elders, and they all agree it is not proper at this very critical stage for us as Muslims of Egypt to have a child as our leader. So we need you, O General Saifuddin Qutuz, to take over the rulership of the Muslims of Egypt. This man became the leader of the Muslims. And he only ruled for less than a year. And what a blessed rule it was, for it gave the Muslims one of the greatest victories in history, a victory in Ramadan that we're going to mention. So the leader of the Muslims is this great man called Saifuddin Qutuz. Ironically, his history is also very interesting. He comes from a royal family. Yes, he is a slave currently, but before that, he came from the royal family of Jalaluddin, who was ruling the lands of Iran, Iraq, parts of Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, all these places. When his uncle was killed in the year 628 of the Hijri calendar, he was captured by the Mongolians. So the Mongolians capture him and he starts fighting them. So they call him Qutuz. Qutuz, a fierce dog. They call him a fierce dog, and that became his name. So he's sold in slavery until he reaches Syria, then later on he's sold in slavery in Egypt. Imagine, just the same way as the story of Nabiullah Yusuf alayhi salam. This man was a slave, he was brought up in a very difficult state, and now he's become the ruler of the Muslims. So Alhamdulillah, Egypt now has one of the two pillars that we require as Muslims for victory. So we have a righteous leader to lead us in Egypt against these Mongolians who are coming to massacre us. The second part of we need is what? Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he says, قوام هذا الدين المصحف والسيف. He says the thing that gives this ummah uprightness and correctness is the mushaf, the Quran, and the sword. He says, كتاب يهدي وسيف ينصر. For Muslims to get victory against any enemy that attacks them, you need these two things. You need the book of Allah Azza wa Jal present in your lives, and you need power and strength. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَأَعِدُّ لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ. You as Muslims prepare yourself whatever from the strength you've been given. The first strength that you should prepare yourself is the internal strength, your iman. You have to prepare your aqidah, your belief. You cannot go fight the enemy, yet you don't have that strong belief in Allah Azza wa Jal. You don't have that belief that death will not come to me except the day it's written for me. You don't have that strong belief that courage does not reduce life by a day and cowardice does not increase life by a day. Everything is in the hands of Allah. Nothing will harm me if Allah has not given permission. And I will not be stopped from the khair if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the permission. So the first thing you need is that iman. And the second thing you need is you take that action, you go take the asbab, and you leave the nasr to Allah Azza wa Jalla. So we have a righteous leader, Saifuddin Qutuz, who was taking over the rulership of Egypt. The second part we need is the ulama. We need the scholars of Islam also to be with us. For us to get victory, we cannot do any action without the presence of the ulama. And this, one of the greatest scholars took up this challenge. It's called Izzuddin Abdul-Aziz ibn Abdis-Salaam. It's called Izzuddin Sultan al-Ulama. Al-Izz ibn Abdis-Salaam ibn Abdul-Aziz al-Sulami al-Maghribi al-Dimashqi al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, born in the year 577 of the Hijri calendar. He passed away in the year 660 of the Hijri calendar. So this second person is one of the main reasons for the victory that we're going to mention in the forthcoming lectures. Who is this man? Just a short biography of his story. This man, is born in the year 577 of the Hijri calendar, Al-Izz ibn Abdis-Salaam. He grows up and becomes known as the Sultan of the Ulama, the Sultan, the leader of the scholars of his time. During his time, his early age, his very poor family. No one knows even his history till today. Who is his father? Where is his father from? His uncle? We don't know. We just know his name, Abdul Aziz ibn Abdis-Salaam, Sulami, from the tribe of Sulami of Mudar, from originally from Morocco or Maghrib al-Arabi. Then he came and was born in Damascus. We don't know anything about him. When he's about 30 years of age, very poor, he stays in the Umayyad mosque in Damascus. One day as he's sleeping at night, the security have locked the doors of the mosque so that the poor people can sleep. Fajr time will open the doors. So as he's sleeping, he has a wet dream. It's very cold, extremely cold. There's a fountain, so he goes, he takes his bath in the fountain, and he's freezing and he's shaking. After that, he takes a short nap again, he sleeps. He gets a wet dream for a second time. So he says, I have to go take a bath. So he goes to take a bath in the cold and almost faints because of that extreme cold. He almost kills himself because of using the extreme cold water. He goes back to sleep. Then he hears a caller saying to him, O Izzuddin, do you want knowledge or do you want deeds? He says, I want knowledge that I will apply to my deeds. Without knowledge, I cannot do any deeds. So he says this in the dream. Thereafter, one of the people tell him, why did you even take a bath in the first place? It was not proper for you to take a bath in a state of extreme cold. You should have done tayammum. It's enough for you. Even if you're in a state of janaba, you have a wet dream and the water is dangerous to you, you have to do tayammum. Otherwise, you'll be amongst the people who have killed themselves. So he started seeking knowledge, until he became the khatib of that mosque he used to sleep in, of Banu Umayyah. And he became the qadi of Damascus. He became the scholar. All the scholars, everyone wants to study under this man, Al-Izz ibn Abdis-Salaam. And the scholars are very afraid of him because he's very straight and does not fear anyone. He speaks for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. He speaks the truth anytime. One of the leaders at the time was called Salih Ismail al-Ayyubi. He hears that his cousin Najmuddin al-Ayyubi in Egypt wants to attack Syria and put Egypt and Syria together. Egypt and Syria are like a bird with two wings. If you want strength of the Ummah, you have to have Syria and Egypt together. Syria, alhamdulillah, right now is back to the fold of the Muslims. It will become strong once again, bi-idhnillah azza wa jal. Egypt also has to come back to the fold of the Muslims. That is only way all Muslims shall conquer the land of Palestine and remove these criminals, the Zionists who are massacring people there. You cannot do it without Egypt, historically. Wallahu alam, Allah knows where his victory will be. So this man Salih Ismail hears his cousin wants to attack Syria. What does he do? He goes to the Crusaders and says to them, I'll give you the lands of the Muslims and the fortresses, take them, assist me to fight my cousin. SubhanAllah. He does not care for the deen, for the lands of the Muslims. He wants to sell anything, give away anything so that he can remain on the seat of authority. And he says to the Crusaders, enter Damascus, buy as much weapons as you want. So on this scholar he's saying that Crusaders entering Damascus. We have never seen non-Muslims army enter into Damascus. I mean, these ones are being freely entered and they're given weapons for the Muslims. He stands up and he gives a fatwa. He says, oh Muslims, it is haram upon you to sell weapons to these Crusaders. Number one, they're the enemies of Allah. Number two, they're fighting your own brethren. They're fighting the Muslims of Egypt. So it's haram. So Salih Ismail hears this, gets very agitated, and he imprisons. And he fires him from all positions and he imprisons this Imam. This Imam is taken to a campsite. He starts reciting the Quran. This evil leader, Salih Ismail, he says to the Crusaders who are with him, are you hearing this Sheikh who's reading the Quran? He is the biggest pastor for us. He's like the biggest pastor for us. But I imprisoned him because of you. You're my friends. And he is going against. And this is something we've seen clearly in our times where ulama, they are thrown in prison because they go against the rulers. Yet you cannot have rulership of a land without the rulers and without the ulama. They are all rulers of that land. So the Christians, they're not very impressed with this. They say to him, Wallahi, you have imprisoned this man who is a righteous scholar amongst you. If it was us and one of us will have washed his legs, and that water that comes from washing his legs will have drunk it as broth, as maraq. That is how we look at our scholars. But Ismail is posting to the Crusaders, I have locked him up. So Al-Izz ibn Abdis-Salaam, he felt the land of Syria has become narrow and difficult for him life in here, so he goes to Egypt. In the year 639 of the Hijri calendar. He reaches Egypt, he becomes the Qadi, the chief judge of Egypt, under the leader Najmuddin al-Ayyubi. Then he notices something very strange. He notices that Najmuddin al-Ayyubi has kept slaves as leaders and governors and heads of the army. Mamluk. He doesn't accept this. So he says, these leaders you have kept are all slaves. They are not fit for rulership. They are not fit even to sell and buy. They are not fit even to do a marriage for them. They are slaves. And we said in Islamic history, slavery was not black people. Slavery was mostly the Turkish people. But you had also Europeans as slaves. You had Persians as slaves. You had black people as slaves. You had every single community. It is the Westerners who later on changed slavery to become the blacks. Us blacks were not slaves. Even us blacks in Africa itself, we had slaves from other Africans. So it was not a racial thing. It was something common in all societies. But it's the Westerners who made it an issue of color. So Izzuddin Al-Izz ibn Abdis-Salaam says, you guys are slaves. We cannot accept any of your transactions. You're not worthy of rulership. So this brings a gate trial in Egypt. He's told, you have to stop talking about this issue. So he gets very angry. He says, if I cannot speak for the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal, what do? I quit. Ma'asalam. He takes his donkey, packs his bags, and he leaves Cairo. As he's leaving, all the ulama, all the khutaba, the imams, the women, the children, the animals, everyone in Cairo starts living with him. And hardly anyone is left in the city of Cairo. Everyone stands with the alim. We stand with the alim. We stand with our scholar. So Najmuddin al-Ayyubi takes on his horse, rushes, tells it, we'll do as you wish. You are our imam, you are our leader. Whatever you wish, we'll do. So Al-Izz ibn Abdis-Salaam says, all your governors and your commanders that are from the slaves, the Mamluk, we have to auction them as slaves. Then they can be freed by the money that is paid for them. So imagine you have an auction, and it's the only time in world history that this has happened. All these great leaders, they are brought in front of public on a stage, and they're told, how much are you buying for, I can't mention politicians in Kenya, but imagine just a great politician in Kenya, and all of you are coming and you're saying, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, 1 million. When you're mine. The humiliation they must have felt. But he sold all of them. And he got the money from Bayt al-Mal, and they became freed. Hence, their rule was accepted. So, these two pillars were very important for the Muslims for the next victory that we're going to talk. One of the greatest victories, not only in Islamic history, but in world history. We have this great man, Saifuddin Qutuz. He became the leader of the Muslims in the year 657 of the Hijri calendar. And we have this man who was born in the year 577. 577, how old was he in the year 657? Wacha tuone watu wanajua hesabu. He was born in the year 577. In the year 657, when Saifuddin Qutuz is becoming the leader of the Muslims, how old was he? Ayub? 80. How did you calculate 80? Huh?
80.
It's 80. He was 80 years old. So this great Imam of the Muslims, he's given the job of inciting or encouraging the Muslims to prepare themselves to defend their honor, their lives and their property against the Mongolian army that is coming. And this other man, Saifuddin Qutuz, his name is Mahmud ibn Mamduh. He is given the rulership to prepare the armies, to prepare the weapons, to prepare the bridges, the infrastructure, whatever is required for the Muslims to defend themselves. So in the forthcoming lecture, we shall look at how the Muslims prepared for the great war that is coming, them versus the Mongolians. These Mongolians have the blood of at least 30 million Muslims at the time. A holocaust of the Muslims, a genocide of the Muslims. And these people, the Mongolian, the Mamluk who were captured as slaves by the Mongolians and sold later on, now they're the ones who are given the authority by the Muslims to defend them. Qanifillah, in the forthcoming lectures, we shall look at one of the greatest victories in Islamic history. Read about it, inshallah. It is the great victory of Ain Jalut, near the lands of Palestine, near the lands of Gaza. Wa akhiru da'wan, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.